Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome. This is a technological work in progress. I'm Aiden Mary. I'm very excited to be your MC this afternoon. We're going to be hanging out with the most amazing women you've ever met. And they're a bunch of incredible pioneers in the social media dementia caregiver space. And we're going to do our best to take questions at the end. So I'll direct you later and explain how to, up at the top right, there's a chat function in the corner of your screen, and you can type in a question. You'll just have to select current room, but I'll let you know about that later. So we are in for a really great discussion. Let's get started and welcome our ladies on the main stage. We've got Carrie Alberts, aka Dementia Darling. She is a Master of Science focused in gerontology. She's been working with seniors and caregivers for a decade. She created Dementia Darling to provide a safe place for dementia caregivers to find community, support, resources, and education. Then we have Jacqueline Revere, also known as Mom of My Mom. She became the sole caregiver for her mother Lynn and grandmother Joyce in 2016, and she began documenting her journey on YouTube and TikTok and has since been acknowledged by media and experts alike for her devotion to implementing fun and creating joy around caregiving. And also, Jacqueline was just invited to be part of 2022 be a 2022 Care Fellow with iGen Poo's Caring Across Generations, which is a really big deal. Then we have Ashley Stevens, also known as the Dementia Guru. She uses her gerontology background to provide support to caregivers and families across the nation. Her story of dementia care began at a young age and continues today in her incredible work journey. Ashley holds a bachelor's degree in gerontology, a master's degree in social work, and is a certified dementia practitioner. Very impressive. Adria Thompson, aka Be Like Care. She's a speech language pathologist, a dementia educator, and the owner of Be Like Care Consulting. She has over 8 years of experience in working with individuals and one-on-one providing speech therapy services. And she also creates daily content for over 200,000 professional and personal caregivers of individuals with dementia on social media. So it's a lot of very accomplished people with a lot on their plates. And my question is, because I'm someone who's a little bit intimidated by social media, and you guys all truly created a whole new space on social media for caregiving and support. So why did you decide to share your story, and why using social media? Whoever feels like starting first, go for it.
Well, I can start.
Great.
So my story, as you kind of mentioned when you introduced me, it's a very, very personal story for me. I do this work because of my great grandma Trolley and my nana Jeanette, who were both diagnosed with dementia. I had the honor of being a part of their dementia story and their dementia care. So I know personally that is my calling, and that's why I'm here today because of them. And so that's why I really decided to share our story, to share my grandmother's story, because it's also my legacy. But also, if I'm going to keep it real for a moment,
Please keep it real.
I had a lot of nerves and just overall anxiety about starting my blog and just getting on social media, because sometimes I can be kind of, introverted into myself, and all of these what ifs just kind of popped up in my head. Like, what if I don't say the right thing, or what if people out in this world hate my ideas, the imposter syndrome. So I had all of those what ifs, but then I was reminded by my wonderful mother, who is also a very dedicated caregiver to my grandmother Dot. She reminded me that, take a leap of faith, and you're doing this for a reason. It's not just about you. It's way bigger than you. It's about creating awareness and getting the message out, because this message is bigger than my own fears and my own doubts. And even if I can just make a difference in one person's life, that means I'm I'm doing the good work and to keep going. And I know that caregivers, especially Black women caregivers, need to feel seen. They need to feel heard, just like my own family. And so that kind of gives me that energy and inspires me to get on social media and increase that awareness and try to use social media in a very fun and creative, powerful way to get that message across.
Yes, yes. Carrie, do you have thoughts about any of this?
Yes. I totally can relate with you, Ashley. I honestly wholeheartedly believe that I was put on this planet to support dementia caregivers. That is why I was created. So, and the dementia community as a whole. But I realized through my work, when I would just share little tidbits with my family caregivers while I was professionally caregiving for their loved ones, I realized how valuable every little tip and trick I would give them was, and every hug just meant the world. To say, I would get all the time, thank you for seeing me. You're the first person to talk to me and say, this sucks. You're the first person to be real with me and also say, this sucks, but there's also beauty there. And so I'm actually it's going to be 3 years this month that I am celebrating my dementia darling birthday on Instagram. And it's just an honor to be able to share anything. If I can, like Ashley said, help one person, because this journey is not meant to be alone. You're not meant to be alone on this journey. It's the hardest journey in the world, I think. And I will do all that I can to just make sure caregivers do not feel alone. And Instagram felt like a great place to start. I always felt safe on Instagram and welcomed. And my role as Dementia Darling has just grown this deeper love and appreciation for this community I can't even express. So, but it just solidifies why I'm here and what I'm meant to be doing. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope my connection's okay. I feel like I'm off, but
no,
hope you hear me.
Yeah,
you're good.
Thanks.
And that's such a good point, that it's for a higher purpose rather than getting in your head about yourself and what people think of you, because it's so easy to do that. I do that all the time. But that's a good thing to bring yourself back to. What do you think, Adria?
Yeah, absolutely. I started Be Like Care and starting sharing these tips on social media about a year ago. And it's so ironic and just crazy, the people that know me, that I'm even doing this. I never had an Instagram before I started this. Like, I'm not a social media person. I'm as introverted as you can get. Ashley, I relate to you on that. And so the fact that I am just this like face, I have all these followers, like we talked about before this even started, we have to like ignore the fact that there's so many people watching and just do what we do best and, just spread hope. That's really what my business is all about. I chose the name Be Light because I want to provide light for caregivers, not only illuminating the topic of dementia and increasing understanding and education around the topic, but also I want to be light as far as like I want to lift the burden that caregiving can give sometimes. Just it's so heavy, it can feel so dark, and just I wanted to just bring a lightness to this topic. And so it began as a professional thing for me. I've been a speech language pathologist for 8 years in nursing homes and assisted livings, but a few years ago, my own grandmother was diagnosed with dementia while I was already kind of on this path of specializing in dementia. And so I see it from both sides. And I never knew how much this information was needed until I just started providing it and I got feedback. And it's been an amazing journey, but I'm so thankful that I took the risk to use social media. I think, especially if you're like a professional caregiver, there's this idea that social media is not professional. And I was afraid of that, of not being taken seriously. But I found that like nobody cares. Like they just want the information one way or another. And social media has just allowed that kind of reach. And I'm really thankful for it.
Wow, it's beautiful. You're giving a lot to the world because it just makes it all feel so much lighter to share it with you. And Jacqueline, please share your journey with it.
Yeah. So
I also like to start out by saying that I have a stutter. And so when I talk, you guys will see it. But the social media part of it started for me because I am a social media person. Like I started a YouTube sort of talking about what it's like being someone who stutters because I did not see people doing that. So when I started taking care of my mom, since I'm a social media person, following my friends and seeing them get married and then start having kids while I was sort of sitting at home made me feel like my life was just wasting. So once I started sharing what it was like to care for my mom, that showed me that there are then other people out there. And what other caregivers have told me was that seeing someone doing the exact same thing that they are day in and day out makes them not feel so lonely, because feeling seen is so important. Like a big part of why social media exists is because people want to feel seen. And so that's where it all started. And now it has rolled into advocacy and also teaching people like tips and different ways that I can continue to influence and help people not feel so lonely.
That's so beautiful that just sharing yourself and being yourself publicly makes other people feel like they have permission to be more themselves.
Yeah.
It's really incredible what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for starting us off. We're going to call up the next panel. Get them on stage. Here we go. Here we go.
Goodbye.
Oh, what a cool group of women. Yeah, you just chill there and then they're going to switch you out.
Hey, Chris.
It's like we're on a real stage. Okay, so joining us now, we've got Natalie Edmonds, aka Dementia Careblazer. She's a board certified geropsychologist. She specializes in helping families manage the many challenges of caring for a loved one with dementia. She is the creator of Dementia Careblazers, an online resource for family members, and she has the #1 dementia training channel on YouTube. Okay. Then we have Jessica Guthrie, also known as Career and Caregiving Collide. She's a full-time millennial caregiver, advocate, educator, and a nonprofit senior executive. Jessica deeply cares about amplifying the voices and experiences of millennial caregivers as they intentionally balance their own self-care and well-being. She's very busy. And then we've got Ty Lewis, also known as I Am Gertrude Jordan. She's a certified Alzheimer's disease and dementia care trainer and certified dementia practitioner. Her unique teaching style and passion and expertise in this field just allow her to deliver captivating training that equips you with research-based strategies to help you conquer the diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Ty is a sought-after educator, trainer, and coach that continues to boldly remind every caregiver that you've got this. And then we also have Chris McCabe, also known as Life with Grams. Chris has been the full-time caregiver for her grams, Mary, since 2017, and they started sharing their life and love as they navigate Alzheimer's together on Instagram that same year. And now with nearly 500,000 followers on TikTok, Chris continues to create connections with fellow caregivers while sharing the special bond she has with her grandma during the progression of this disease. So, for you ladies, I want to know, because again, a lot on your plate, a lot to do. How do you balance the intimacy of caregiving in your everyday life with the reach and exposure of social media? Because I feel like social media, I mean, for me, it can feel very exposing, and you guys are sharing very personal stories. So how do you balance that? Who wants to get us started?
I'll jump in right away. Because, sorry, guys.
No.
I was going to say, for me personally, I've been a millennial on social media. Like Jacqueline said earlier, social media has always been my thing. I had AOL Instant Messenger curating the perfect away message. And I was always like all about being seen. So the intimacy for me, my mom, my whole life was always like, you share too much on the internet. You need to take it down a notch. But I've just always been this way. And I feel like as real as I can be, as honest and open, I am who I am. There's no changing it. So I just really try to present that forward. As far as the social media-ness of it, as we've gotten more popular, I suppose, on TikTok, the opinions of others is a lot to handle, but I really just try to focus on who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And for me, that's to share the love and joy between my grandma and I, and to show people that you can live a happy life with Alzheimer's. It doesn't have to be the end. And also honoring and listening to myself and my boundaries. I have, Ashley from the Dementia Guru has really taught me about boundaries. And so with social media, if I feel like I am being pushed one way or another and I'm not really listening to myself, I take a break. I step off, I go away, because it's about me. This is my life. And so I always want to make sure that I'm presenting reality and making sure that I'm also being taken care of as well.
Mm-hmm. Boundaries, so important. Like what I'm spending my whole 30s learning how to do. Natalie, what do you think?
For me, I started sharing on social media truly from the professional side. I worked for a hospital for 13 years and just got really frustrated. Like, so many great healthcare providers are in the field, but when you have 20, 30 minutes and somebody's coming to you and they're trying to figure out what to do for their loved one, and you give them an appointment in 4 to 6 months, it was breaking my heart. Like, it wasn't great care in my eyes. So while I was working at the hospital, I just started recording videos for YouTube with the common challenges and obstacles that caregivers were facing. Like, what do I do when they say they want to go home, but they're home, or they don't want to shower, or they don't trust me, or they think I'm stealing? So I was just sharing from that perspective. And that's pretty much all I share now on social media from that professional side. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the people who are sharing their personal journeys. My mom passed away in June, and my dad is not doing well. And it's such an open wound for me to talk about. Like, I'm not that person who can share that personal stuff online, because I don't think I could be like Chris and handle. I know what comes. I know, like, I see on the professional side just what I get from sharing on social media to open, like Ty and Chris, your personal life, and Jessica. I'm just not there. But I love that they're doing it, because it shows, like, you learn a lot more and you see a lot more how it looks in real life when you see the real life caregiving. But that's just not something that I would share. That for my personal decision, I'm sharing on my channel. It's really from the professional side.
Yeah, I love that everyone has like a different way in, and it's all okay. We can all share different amounts. Ty, you were going to say something earlier.
First of all, I just want to say I wish people really knew who Natalie was, because behind the scenes. And so just being on here with everybody, for the people that are watching, I really don't think you know the gold that is sitting up here on stage, and not just the gold and not just us sharing our lives, but the fact that you get different perspectives, but these people we're really who we say we are behind the scenes. And so Natalie is just a gem. And if you would know her behind the scenes, you would wish that you would be able to know what she can share personally, because she's helped me behind the scenes so much. Just for me, I believe that my life is ministry, and that's how I look at it. And so whatever I'm going through at home, I believe that that we're overcome by our testimony. And so if people can look at my life, and if people can see what I'm doing with my mom, and people will say, well, Ty, you got it all together. You're doing A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, no, I don't have it all together. What you see is grace. That is what you see, grace on my life. And if I can live this thing out every single day with grace, and I'm able to do this, then I want to show you everything that's going on. And so I don't balance anything. I don't want to use that word. I just do the best that I can, share my life. And there are some things that I do keep personal, but I'm a sharer, because I believe that this is my community on my page. And I can only speak for my page. I love my folk. Like, they go to war for mommy. Like, we roll up, we fight, like everything. But I love my community that I've built, and we're loving, we're kind, we help each other, we pray for each other. And that is really, people really don't understand that they are getting me through this process, because allowing me to share my mom with you, and you saying, well, that's my mama too, that's my grandma, or that's my aunt. It helps me through every single day to know that I'm not alone, and I have thousands of people that are rallying behind me and saying, you got this. And that's why I always say, you can do this. And so it brings me joy to share my life. And we're going to keep doing it. Even after mommy has transitioned and gone to glory, we still going to share, and I'm still going to help you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That it is a give and take, that you're giving to the world, and also your community is giving back to you. You're teaching each other things. That's really cool. Jessica, how do you feel about it?
Yes. Can you all see me now?
Yes. You disappeared for a little bit, but you're back.
Oh, great. Hello. So to your question, I can honestly say that my focus is not social media. My focus has always been my mother, Constance, and our journey. And if I happen to post and share a joyful moment, I happen to post so that people can then enjoy that joyful moment too, or connect to that. When I initially started my public Instagram, so quick backstory, I was 26 years old when my mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease. So I was young caregiver. I'm an only child, single. I did not see people that looked like me, let alone people my age caring for their parents. And so my intent in sharing has always been, how do I, one, just share my experience to build awareness? Because so many people have very little insight and understanding of the realities of just Alzheimer's disease, let alone the caregiving experience of someone like me trying to balance growing in my career, take care of my mom, living from afar, all the things. And then two, social media became a place where I almost started just like processing my experience. So if you follow the stories, like you get the real time reactions of my frustrations with the system, my frustrations with the healthcare, all the things on top of, right, like celebrating the great moments. And so it's not even a balance. It's, I happen to record them because it's the memories for me. And then I also know that people have similar journeys and have felt alone, I know the feeling of isolation. And so if me sharing allows someone else to feel connected, to feel seen, to feel valued, then awesome. But that social media isn't the focus, but it's become a secondary benefit of sharing my story.
That makes perfect sense. And as an only child, I very much relate. It is scary to not have other people in it with you.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you guys for sharing that. Let's hear from our other panelists. and we'll see you guys back in a few minutes. Okay, we got group 1 coming back to the stage. They're back. They're almost all back. Okay, hey guys. Okay, so touching a little bit on what Ty mentioned about your community giving back to you, I'm curious, how has your community impacted your experience as a caregiver, both with each other that are doing similar things in the space and also your followers? Jacqueline, you want to start us off?
Sure. So literally the list continues now. For some backstory, my mother passed this year. And while I was caring for her, other caregivers that followed would help me solve whatever challenges that came up. But now that she's not here, people are constantly reminding me that you don't have to show up 24/7. You can take time, you can rest, and having a supportive community of people who understand exactly what I'm going through right now has been so important for my mental health, because like there's really not been people to share this sort of story and open themselves up like this on social media before now. And this is new. And so we don't know what's right and what's wrong. And so having people who are there for you, letting you know that no matter what, they have your back, has been invaluable. And like the final point is like as an only child, I always thought that I would mourn my mom by myself. Mom has like nearly 800,000 people that follow. I am not mourning by myself.
Wow.
And that has been the most heartfelt part of this entire experience, is having other people love mommy too and be sad that she's not here with me.
That's so beautiful. Made me cry. Carrie, would love to hear from you.
Yes. So well, thank you, Jacqueline, for saying that as well. You're absolutely incredible. And we could talk about you for hours, girl. We love you. So, but we won't start that. But, I come from the professional background. So I was always, with multiple people living with dementia at once. I've never, had that daily 24/7 care. I got to clock out. So, I have my experiences, but learning from these caregivers in our community has taught me so much appreciation, more than I could ever express, so much respect. The dementia caregivers, specifically, I mean, family caregivers that are there 24/7, and even not when their loved ones move into a facility, they are still those 24/7 caregivers. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for these people. Their lives are completely changed when they become a caregiver, and what they've given back to me by being in this community is something I could never repay, because I learn from them every single day. I see their hurt, I see their struggles, I celebrate with them, I cry with them, and I see it. But they've taught me truly how, being a professional, you don't see all of it. And when you see all of it, how they share their stories so authentically and so openly, it is so important and so needed. As we've been saying, people need to see that they are not alone. They need to see these instances. They need to feel seen, and they need to find people that they can lean on. Like Jacqueline said, she is not alone. And what a beautiful sentiment, what a beautiful time that we live in, that we can support each other. So of course I learned from my professional friends on here tenfold, but the knowledge I get from these family caregivers, and just the empathy and just the love that they have, is truly inspiring. So I cannot thank you all enough for showing us your love every day. So thank you.
It's a really special community you guys have created. Ashley, what do you think?
Yeah, I just have to kind of piggyback off of Jacqueline and Carrie. It's just really an amazing community. And kind of like what Ty was saying earlier, we really do rally behind each other. And to me, it feels like family. I always say, like, oh, this is the Care Fam. Like, we are in this together. It's the Care Fam, because it feels like family. And just being here on this stage with all of you, like Carrie mentioned, is really inspiring. It's just overwhelming too, and so much respect for all caregivers. And just, I don't know, it's just, it really is overwhelming to think about how we all arrived here. And like you mentioned earlier, it's reciprocal. Whereas we're on these platforms sharing information, we're also learning from the caregivers who are a part of our community. They are sharing their stories. We're sharing our stories and our tips and tricks and all the things. And we're coming together to learn together. And social media has really allowed us to do that, educate each other, increase awareness. And to me, that's pretty phenomenal, because 10, 20 years ago, this type of global connection did not exist. It did not exist at all. And caregiving families like mine, they felt isolated and really disconnected because of a dementia diagnosis. And so to see it come to fruition now, where social media can really connect us and unify us, it feels not just inspiring, but like empowering too. It feels like I can show up, I can be here. I feel empowered to continue advocating. I'm a social worker and gerontologist by trade, and so we're always advocating, but actually connecting with caregivers and families on social media just drives that passion even more. And it feels empowering to know that I'm not in this alone. Like Jacqueline mentioned, you're not grieving alone. We're grieving together. We're going through this journey together. And I have hope. I believe that we are also going to defeat dementia together as well.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It is really, like, when they say technology at some point just starts to look like magic, like, it is kind of magical that we're all beamed on here together from different parts of the world, being able to share this with each other. It's wild.
So cool.
Adria, what has your experience been?
The social media, when you ask about like social media community, I think that it's really easy for us and for the attendees here to think about like the social media dementia community to look like the 8 of us, right? The ones that are putting our lives out there. But there's so many caregivers who maybe no one even knows that they're a caregiver. They don't talk about the fact that they love someone with dementia. they don't have the ability, nor are they comfortable, whatever it might be, to share their story, and they're just sitting around all over the world alone. And I feel like they're still, yeah, that's still our community, or even those people who haven't had the chance or don't choose not to share their own story. I get messages from those kind of people every single day. And that's like, I can't tell you, I was really scared going into the social media world. Like I said, I never had Instagram before. So I just knew there were like lots of trolls out there. And then I thought that I was going to get like this negative feedback or people nitpicking my videos, which still does happen occasionally. But the majority of people are just like, thank you. Like, thank you. And I get just the nicest comments all the time. And from that community, whether they're providing compliments or they are asking questions, they've really challenged me. I feel like I am so much better as a speech language pathologist, as a granddaughter of someone with dementia, whatever identity I am. I feel so much better because I've been challenged by people to think critically. They propose these situations to me that I've never heard of, about like some situation with dementia, and I'm just like, let me think about it. Like, and it just makes me better. It makes me more creative. It gives me confidence. We look like really polished on our videos a lot of times, but I can't tell you how much editing goes into some of those things, because it isn't as easy as it looks. But I'm so thankful for the whole community, whether we're visible or not, for all the encouragement that people give and how they challenge me personally, but we challenge each other. It's just a really edifying place to be.
Wow. Yeah, I have certainly learned a lot from all of your accounts, like all these tips and tricks, things I never would have thought of, because you're all so creative addressing different situations, and it's mind-blowing how much you can learn just looking through your social medias. Thanks so much for sharing. We're going to bring the panel 2 back to answer a final question, and then we're going to take some questions from the audience. Ooh, anything can happen. Okay, we've got number 2 back. All right. Okay, so I mean, this is kind of thematically what we've been talking about, but is there a message you guys have about self-care as a dementia caregiver? Because I know it's the hardest job in the world, and taking care of yourself is challenging in that experience. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yes, Lord. I'll go.
Preach, Ty.
Listen, Natalie knows. These people, a lot of of you may not follow me, but my community knows that a couple of weeks ago I was diagnosed with vertigo. And so like literally sitting here right now, I'm just doing like this. So I can't stand for long periods. I'm sitting on the couch. I can't do a lot. And I still show up. So people that are watching my videos like, Ty, you're doing the best. Yay, you're taking care of your mama. You're superwoman. Go girl. And I'm like, if y'all know I was dying behind the scenes, like not really dying, but you know what I mean. But take care of yourself. Don't, and Natalie told me this, and if I cry, y'all just whatever, because I don't care.
We're all crying here today.
Listen, Natalie told me this the other week. Basically you got to show up for yourself. And at the end of the day, if I don't take care of myself while taking care of my mother, she'll still be here and I won't. And if she leaves, one thing my mom says every day, if she doesn't like to do something, she'll say, I'll be dead. And so that's what she says. Or she'll say, I'm dying. Y'all killing me. I'll be dead. And I'll be like, mommy, whatever. But we'll be dead. And that's straight at 6 o'clock. And it's the truth. And so self-care looks different for everybody. And so the first thing that I would say is that you have to, number one, identify what that looks like for you. What I'm doing is not what Jessica is going to do, what Chris is going to do, what Natalie is going to do. Self-care for me is getting in my bed and putting covers over my head, because I'm a creative and my mind never stops. And so it's constantly going. And I'm like, y'all, if I did recreational drugs, I'll be on the side of the road somewhere, for real. That's how my mind is going, or twerking on the side of the road. So that's how bad it is. So for me, it is literally me getting in the bed and pulling the covers over my head and just calming my mind, or taking myself out to lunch, or sitting on, at my back table and just resting with nobody bothering me. Self-care for me also looks like me bringing in a caregiver full-time Monday through Friday, and one at night 3 nights a week. Baby, and I'm still with my mother, but that has lightened my load so much, and it has relieved so much stress for me, because what you see on my social media, that is what I'm doing. We're constantly changing the undergarments. Mommy talks to me all day. Like if I'm working, it's no break, because she running her mouth, and it's something to do all the time. Or rubbing me, or y'all like, I don't know if I could say this on HFC, but just rubbing my breast and just all that. And I'm like, mommy, I'm trying to work, but she doesn't care about that. So engage in self-care. Whatever that looks like for you, do it. Your mom or your dad or your spouse, they'll be there when they're there. And then get somebody to come in and assist you. I know a lot of us say, well, I don't have that help. I don't have my sibling. Y'all, and I'm not being mean, and I'm not minimizing your struggle, but we need to get past that, and we need to ask our community. If I was where Chris was, I'll be at her house with Grams. Okay? If I was with Jess, I'll be with Miss Constance. Okay. You got to reach out to the people who are there for you. I haven't met Jessica before, but she's my family. Me and Natalie hadn't met, but I could call Natalie like, yo, what's up? I need you real quick. And she'll be like, all right, Ty. Me and Chris talk behind the scenes all the time. And so it is about allowing people who are there for you to be there for you. And that is what your self-care is looking like. And you taking care of yourself. Because if not, you'll be with vertigo like me and trying to steady myself. And I feel like I done had 3 ounces of weed. It ain't all right. That's it. For real.
I hear you.
I love you, Ty.
I'm just
So
keeping it real. Listen, my head is going like this, and I'm trying to show up for y'all on HFC, but listen, I'm telling you, it's a struggle.
I hear vertigo. You get really nauseous, right? Oh.
So I don't get nauseous. I just get dizzy and unsteady. And so me sitting like this, I'm fine. But if I stand up, my body is literally, so I have to go. I'm going to the ENT doctor on Tuesday for them to say what's going on. Is it something what is it? Because I don't know. And it's been like this for 3 months.
Oh, I wonder if it's stress or.
I don't know. Y'all just send up a prayer for me. That's it. Pray for me, girl. That's it.
Chris, what do you do for self-care?
So for me, obviously what Ty said is dead on, but it does look different for everybody. And I know a lot of times people will always preach to me, you need respite, get respite. I've taken respite before. And sometimes personally for me, that anxiety the day before I leave on a respite trip is the worst feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. And sometimes that causes me more stress and anxiety than just implementing daily self-care rituals. And I have found that for me personally has been the most beneficial for my mental health. Giving myself 15 minutes in the morning, before she wakes up, to take care of myself, to shower, or to, do these little things every day that seem so obviously you have to brush your teeth or obviously wash your hair. But a lot of times as caregivers, we neglect ourselves because we're so focused on our loved one. And for me, self-care is not neglecting myself. I am a human being living in this house with my grandma, and I deserve love and care too. And I have to give that to myself sometimes if people aren't going to do it for me. I am fortunate to be in this community, and I do feel very supported, and that is amazing. But again, self-care does look different for everybody. And maybe just implementing things in your daily life that benefit you. I will read. I will step away from my grandma if it gets too emotionally much for me to handle. If I'm stressed out, I listen to myself. Yes, I am my grandma's full-time caregiver, but I am in my own body and I have to take care of it. So I really just try to honor my feelings on a daily basis to support my self-care, so that when I do get time for respite and I do get these other breaks, or a caregiver can come and take care, I already know that I'm still good. Because when you take a respite break without having self-care implemented through the journey, that respite care ain't going to feel that good. That happened to me recently. I didn't take care of myself, and then I got this respite trip, and I thought the respite trip was going to change my everything. And let me tell you, when I got back from that respite trip, it was like 1,000 pounds had fallen on me, because now I wasn't taking care of myself before the trip. And now I just jumped into this, like I had freedom, and now here I am doing this all over again. So really just implementing daily self-care practices. Practices, so you can just be your best self for your loved one, and especially for you.
That's so great. Because I if you don't have those systems in place to take care of yourself along the way, then you just hit burnout, and it's so hard to come back from burnout, and then your trip's not fun. Jessica, what do you do to take care of yourself?
Yes. So I agree with what's been shared thus far. And the quote that very much drives me is from Audre Lorde. And she says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that, in fact, is an act of political warfare. And I thought this drives me because I recognize that in order for me to show up as a daughter, a caregiver, someone who works full time, I have to be thinking about my own mental, spiritual, and physical well-being so that I can be around for the long haul. And so that's the quote that drives me. That also drives the fact that I'll be the first to admit it. I have my little spa days planned every 6 weeks. Okay. Sometimes you just need a little retreat, and there's nothing wrong with that. On top of what are the daily practices and routines that Chris just talked about? I think a different entry point for me is that I am someone who is very disciplined, and I like systems. I like routines. And I think one way to look at it is like, okay, you like to control stuff, but no, having systems, having routines for myself and my mother frees up the brain space, frees up time and capacity for me to take care of myself, or for me to spend my energy where I'm most productive. So like meal prepping for the entire week, sure, yes, meal prepping. But that now saves me 30 minutes on any weekday night, and I can spend that time being fully focused and present with my mother, which actually is caring for myself, right? Thinking about, systems and routines for how we spend our day and the schedule gives me the space to know I will always have 90 minutes in the morning because my mother wakes up at this specific time. That 90 minutes becomes my meditation time, my prayer time, my sleeping time, if we sleeping in, right? And so it's not about the fancy bougie spa trips. And yes, I'll be the first to go, right? But it's also about how are you thinking thoughtfully around where you can fit things in your schedule. And so I would say create the spaces and create the system so that you have those spaces to take care of yourself. Because honestly, I can't fight the healthcare system if I'm tired. I can't go back into my documentation and say you did not do X, Y, and Z if I don't have my stuff together, right? And that is a huge part of caregiving that we don't talk about, is that I am probably 80% in advocacy mode, right? To make sure my mother get what she deserves. Therefore, I got to be rested,
Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, for everyone, just to think ahead so that you can have more time in your life to enjoy your life. Natalie, what about you? What kind of things do you do?
I think for self-care, I think the reason people have a hard time with this is the word self. Like somehow they think it's selfish. It's all about them. But self-care is just care. It's care for you. It's care for everybody in your life, for your loved one, your spouse, your family, your pet, so it's just care. And I think one of the things that stops people too is that they have the ideal version of self-care. Like I'm with Jessica, my ideal version of self-care is going to be at the spa. And if my dog can come with me, it's even best, right? But that's not going to be possible for everybody. And so sometimes we let the ideal version in our head stop us from being able to take advantage of what we do have and what could be right in front of us. And what is at our disposal. And so it's about recognizing the mini breaks or the micro breaks, or what in your life you have right now that could be considered self-care that maybe we've never considered it before. And one of the top things that I do every day, just as a human being, and I'm always talking about it, is the self-care in your own brain. What are you telling yourself in your own head about how you're doing as a caregiver, about whether or not you're making mistakes or you're messing up or you're not doing enough? And so it's the self-care, which is just care, starts in your own mind, what you're telling yourself, and making sure all that love that all of you amazing caregivers give to your loved ones, making sure you are doing that same thing for yourself. So that's the most important thing that for self-care that I do, I'm constantly on top of, because our brains can be bullies. I always say our brains are like, can be our worst enemies sometimes. And so just realizing that, you know what, like, you're amazing, you're trying, you're doing the best you can. Nobody has all the answers. We don't have all the time. Some days we're not going to be able to do what we wanted to do. And like having grace, compassion, love, and kindness for yourself, just like you do for your loved one, that's probably the best thing I could say for self-care.
Self-talk's so important, because you just make it so much harder on yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? I do think we have some time for some questions for this panel, and then we'll switch back to the other panel if people have questions for them. But let's take some questions for you guys. What do we got here? And check the chat. If you go to the upper right-hand corner of the chat, just type in a question you want to hear answered. Let's see. We're going to get there, you guys, together. Okay. Here's one. Oh, they're moving fast. What is your favorite song to sing for your loved one with dementia?
Easily, You Are My Sunshine. That was the song that my grandma sang to me my whole life. It's her lullaby every night. I sing it to her before she goes to sleep. In addition to that, it would always be Patsy Cline, Crazy. That's my grandma's favorite song ever. So we sing that like 10 times a day.
Wow. And that, if it's music they love from their memories, it brings back something very visceral, doesn't it?
Yeah, just the other night, for the first time in like over a year, she actually sung 4 words of Walking After Midnight, Patsy Cline. And I was like blown away. She hasn't done that in a really long time. So It was kind of incredible.
And Adria is saying that you have an amazing voice. So everyone
Don't tell anybody.
I'm not going to make you sing on the spot, but unless you want to. Do you want to sing?
You can go to my TikTok. There's tons of videos.
Okay. Check it out on TikTok. Let's see. What else? Okay. Let's see. Christy asked, how can we navigate the frustration then guilt cycle? Let's see. Oh, we just lost it. Okay. She said she's struggling with that now. You get frustrated and then you feel guilty for being mad or upset or frustrated. Does anyone have any tips for that?
I think we all can chime in, but I want everybody to look at us and realize that we're still human. And so what I want to speak to you is that you're going to get frustrated and you're going to feel guilty every single day, all day. All of our followers, and I have, degrees behind my name and all of these certifications, and I still get frustrated with mommy. I still yell. I still get upset. And if anybody tells you they're not doing that, it's a lie. But you come back to the point where you say, like my husband one day, he was like, Ty, she has dementia. And we just bust out laughing. And you don't get frustrated because they're not doing something. But hear me clearly, you get frustrated because they're not doing something. Because you remember who they were and you want to remain in that place. And so what you have to ask yourself is, what is the root of the frustration? And when you identify the root of the frustration, you'll be able to heal. A lot of our frustration is built in our trauma and the fact that we don't like that our loved one is diagnosed with dementia. We don't like it. It doesn't feel good. It really, really hurts. And so when we begin to heal in that process, we'll begin to step into their worlds and accept them for exactly who they are. And then the guilt will go away. And so identify the root of the frustration. Speak to that thing. And so a lot of y'all may not understand what I'm saying, but hear me clearly. Whatever you speak to that frustration, and when you speak to that frustration, the guilt will cease. And so what are you frustrated? Are you frustrated because they're using the bathroom on themselves? That's a part of dementia. Are you frustrated because they're angry with you or they're saying mean things? That's a part of the dementia. That is not who they are. And so if we separate the disease from the human, we'll be able to get to the heart of the matter, lead and be intentional with how we lead and love. And again, the frustration will be there during the day. I can't believe you did this. Oh, you spilled your cup, or you said this to me, or you did. But then we will begin to say, wait a minute. Where's that coming from? And we'll begin to heal. And this is not an overnight thing. What you see on this stage, this is time. We're still not masters of this gift. We're not. But it takes time. And the more that you work and are, a work in progress, the better you'll become, and you'll see the frustrations die. Who I was 2 years ago with mommy is not who I am today. The Ty you see showing up on I Am Gertrude, that's not who I was 2 years ago. What I can deal with today is not what I could deal with 2 years ago. Right now, mommy's not incontinent during the day, but she is having a pee storm at night. I can't say, mommy, why are you peeing on yourself? She has dementia. I can't get mad. I can't get frustrated. So identify the frustration, speak to that thing, get to the root of it, and it'll minimize. It'll minimize. Why can't I say minimize the guilt? And then be gentle with yourself. Love yourself. Speak to yourself. Just like Natalie just said, what is your talking? What is your thought process? So we got to be kind to ourselves. Baby, we're doing the best we can. And as long as you're doing the best you can, that's it. Ain't nobody judging you. Nobody has a report card. I give mommy F's every day. Y'all see it on my feed. Nobody's giving you F. Nobody's judging you. Do the best you can. You get an A every day, every single day.
Yeah, I think that's also really nice to hear you say that sometimes you lose your temper and you get frustrated. Like we all do. I mean, even when our parents don't have dementia, I revert back to being a teenager. I'm like, why'd you do that? And then you feel guilty. And, but yeah, just being gentle on yourselves. We have a few more questions, but we're going to switch to our other group of panelists. Thank you guys so much for answering those. So this next question, lots of us are of a generation that did not grow up with social media. So it is a challenge sometimes to get on board. And so they're wondering what's the best way to connect or search for a connection if you're not a social media person savvy with that. Does anyone have thoughts?
I can speak to that. I think that I've just noticed I'm not as big on Facebook personally, but I am on Facebook. But I know Jacqueline has a huge following on Facebook, and there's a lot of great Facebook resources that I think that some people maybe that are a little older might enjoy Facebook and might find that to be more accessible. So maybe trying that, because you can get really specific with the groups on there because there's so many people that are holding amazing groups on there. But I personally think if you're not, necessarily wanting to do the social media route, is speaking up in your life. We don't realize how many people are also going through this. And if you start speaking up in the places that you are already around, you might not realize that there's people already in your life that are in these positions or might be entering them, or, so it's just good. I mean, I know a lot of people that might go to church, speak about it at church, ask the community groups there if anyone else is having this issue. And I'm sure there are. Start a support group at your church, start a support group at the local, wherever, senior center, if there's places around, and there's always people around that are going through this, but it really is just not being scared to speak up about your situation, I think, and get the ball rolling. So I've literally met people in grocery stores that have, and we've connected, and then we talk from there, you know, and we're friends now. Like, you can meet people anywhere if you are confident in speaking up about your position and not shying away from it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, or you know, anything. Don't keep it private. We should speak up about it and find that support. That's what I would say.
That's really good advice. Oh, Jacqueline, did you have something to say about that?
Something that I recently realized when I was out of the country is that you can talk to anybody about care, and you will start a conversation. Everyone will care for someone. Everyone has seen someone care for someone, and everyone will need care. I was literally talking to someone. Okay, so I don't speak Spanish, but we figured it out, and we were talking about caring for someone. So like this, you can start a conversation with anyone in the entire world on this topic. And we just have to start stepping out of ourselves, not feeling shame, and choosing to share our story.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it is really wild when you talk about it, how many people are touched by this same thing and have experiences with it. And the stories just come out, and then you can share it. That's really good advice, I think. And we're getting a few questions. One is about navigating the process, the journey, and all of the emotions and feelings when you have kids. For those of you who have kids, I want to speak on that. And someone else asked, as a young person, trying to navigate that while dating, and is that even possible? So if any of you want to speak on either of those.
Okay, so I don't have any kids, but dating, we can talk about that for a long time. What I can say about that is self-talk is really important, because you're going out and you're putting yourself out there for people who are formulating what a future might look like with you. And the responses that you get from people will vary partly because people don't really understand what caring for someone entails. There will be someone there who will get you, but it takes time, and it takes you knowing that you are here for a purpose and not shying away from telling your story because you think someone might not like it.
Yeah.
But there's way more.
Oh, I bet. But the right person will make space for that. But I
Yes.
imagine it's challenging. And I think Ty can speak to the experience with having kids. If we could switch Ty on real quick to answer our last question, that would be great. Oh, did we lose Ty? There she is.
It's a question.
The question was, how do you balance and navigate the emotional journey and this process and your feelings with your kids?
Jay can speak to this too, because she's at my house at the cookouts. We just keep it real. And I answered her in the group chat. We keep it real in our house. And so what my children see is us being intentional and us leading with love, and how we are called in our home with our godly principles and our Christian principles. And so because of that, we model a life that it's not do what I say do, not even do what I do, it is do what God has called us to do. And when we live by those principles, we will begin to walk in love. And so they will see frustration. Yeah. But they'll also see me repent. They'll see love. They'll see compassion. They'll see me, being patient, long suffering, all of these things that he has called us to be. And I don't always get it right. But in that, they'll see me doing what I can, making the mistakes, repenting for the mistakes, and then doing better. And so that is how we show up in our home. And it's hard because, we have in touch. And like I said, Jay, because she walks closely with my family too. My girls are actors in the industry. And so I always tell them, first of all, y'all not going to embarrass me. That's number one. You're not going to embarrass my last name, right? And so y'all going to be out in these streets. And what we do in the house, how I treat mommy, how my husband treats mommy, you also got to get out in the industry and do the same thing. And once again, you ain't going to embarrass me, our last name, and you sure ain't going to embarrass God. And so leading well at home, that's the key. With love and intentionality, that's our philosophy at home. So that's how they see it. And they have fallen in line well. They get up, they fix mommy's breakfast. They bathe. Well, they don't bathe. I'm lying. They dress her. They put her to bed. So I give them responsibilities because I ain't doing this by myself. We all gonna work. Right. You want to eat? Go down there and get her dressed. Like, right. So look, we all got a job to do. I can't do this by myself. And so, that's how we work in my house.
Yeah, and being honest with them, I think kids understand way more than we think they do. And it's so much worse to not tell them what's happening.
Yeah. And they understand.
I was just going to say, I wish everyone raised their kids like you, Ty.
I know.
Because then we would have like a more inclusive and
we're very
generation that's going to be accepting of dementia.
Yeah.
They'll go out there and change the world.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, okay, we've run a few minutes over, so we are going to have a networking hang in another room if you guys want to go chat in the networking suite with other attendees. But I do, just on behalf of the HFC team, I want to thank you all for spending your afternoon with us. I do hope you leave feeling more supported and inspired and informed by these amazing women. Please visit the HFC website, www.wearehfc.org. if you want more info about caregiver support and programs. And then you can also follow HFC on social media using the handle @WeAreHFC. So thank you to all the media mavens for joining us today. That was incredible. Thanks for your honesty and sharing so much with us. And we look forward to seeing you all at more HFC caregiver events. And so I think we're going to hang and take a photo as a group, but everyone else, if you want to move on over to the virtual networking, you can make some new friends and take care of yourselves out there.